Loren had always been a man of dreams, hopelessly romantic, with stars in his eyes and a heart that beat too loudly for its own good. For years, he had been caught in the illusion that love was the answer to everything, the force that could solve all his problems, fix all his wounds, and make everything right. He wasn't just a man in love. He was a man who believed that love was sacred, invincible, and eternal. And in his world, that love had a name: faith. Faith was everything Loren had ever wanted. Her laughter was like a melody, a song he'd never tire of listening to. Her eyes held stories, deep and unspoken, and her smile had the ability to melt the hardest parts of him. When they first met, Loren had been sure that she was his one, his soulmate, the person he was meant to spend his life with. She was the dream he never wanted to wake up from. But dreams, like everything else in life, can be deceiving. And reality has a way of creeping in when you least expect it. It had started as all relationships do, with bright eyes, long nights filled with laughter, and whispered promises of forever. Loren and Faith had been inseparable, feeding each other's souls with words of love, grand plans for the future, and the belief that no one could come between them. Loren had believed in her completely. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Faith wasn't the woman he thought she was. It didn't take long for the cracks to start showing. Small things at first. The late nights she started spending at work, the long silences that began to fill the space between them. Loren convinced himself it was just stress, that it was just life getting in the way. He was willing to forgive, to overlook. After all, he believed love was enough to make it all work. But the cracks deepened. The smiles started to fade, the texts became less frequent, and the excuses piled up. Loren was losing her, and he could feel it. He just couldn't admit it yet. He had always been the optimist, the one who believed that love could overcome anything. But love wasn't enough when one person stopped believing in it. It was one evening when Loren came home to an empty apartment, an unusual silence hanging in the air. Faith had been distant for days, and Loren knew it was only a matter of time before the inevitable conversation happened. He tried to shake the feeling, but deep down, he knew. He knew she was slipping away, and it wasn't something he could stop. His phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Faith's name flashed across the screen. He could feel his heart race as he picked it up, hoping for some sign that everything would be okay. "Hey," the message read, "can we talk?" Loren's hands trembled as he replied. He was nervous, but he also knew that talking was the only way to get answers. "I'm here," he typed. "What's going on?" The reply came almost instantly. "I don't know how to say this, but I think we should take a break. I need space. I need time to figure out who I am. This relationship, it's not what it used to be." The words hit Loren like a punch to the gut. He had seen this coming, but it didn't make it any easier. He sat on the floor, staring at the screen, his mind racing. His heart screamed at him to fight, to call her, to beg her to stay. But there was nothing left to say. Faith had made up her mind. The days that followed were a blur of heartache. Loren found himself drifting through life, existing in a world that no longer felt real. The apartment, once filled with laughter and conversation, felt cold and empty. The space where Faith had once been, her clothes, her books, her presence, was now a constant reminder of the woman who had left him behind.